Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. A nice sign stating why you ripped up the garden and, if you have them, photos of the culprits. That's what you could put there instead of carrots, OP. Enjoy your newfound free time. I think you've earned it. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Karens keep stealing from my garden. On a property with a beautiful lawn, and it came with side garden running along the fence bordering the sidewalk, full of herbs like mint, lavender, and oregano, some small carrots, and other stuff. Quickly learned that several older ladies in the neighborhood felt entitled to my garden. They were reaching through the fence, posts up to their shoulders, going as far as their arm could reach, grabbing what they could and fill their plastic bags. They would wait till someone was out of the house or early in the morning to make their grab and run, so they were well aware they were in the wrong. Just knowing they were doing this whenever we were out of the house made my skin crawl. So I ripped out the garden. Less work for me now. It honestly became too much work and messy to have, but it wasn't a big deal and there was plenty of it to go around. I hate gardening, so it was a relief to get rid of. I also didn't like that the garden had become an invitation for thieving grannies to intrude on my property. I was planning on removing the garden eventually, but was not in a rush and didn't care enough. They just accelerated my plans to get rid of it all by fueling me with spite. If only they had asked and introduced themselves, I probably would have kept it a little longer. And our second story. 2 roommate stories. Don't mess with me and my money. First roommate was a girl I met during community college. She was so cool, totally chill and funny, moved in with her and everything changed. She'd start screaming at me because I turned the AC on in August during 90-degree Fahrenheit days, even though I promised to compensate fully for it. And it turned out to just cost $30. She would also get angry when I woke her cat up. She got so crazy hostile I would lock my door at night out of fear of her stabbing me in my sleep, so I moved out after that month, but I was still obligated to the lease. I tried to find her a new roommate that she liked, but she made the process difficult. I was getting anxious because rent was about to be due and I was not about to pay for 2 apartments. So I stopped giving an F and signed a sublease with a random foreign 40-year-old man. I made sure he was fully aware of what he was getting into. When I told her, she started yelling how I'm stupid. I don't know anything about the law, and she knows a lot more about leasing agreements since she worked at a leasing office. The look of quiet rage/frustration when I laid out everything stated in our leasing agreement and rental laws in our state was too satisfying. Add on. A year later, I was at an intersection just about to take a right turn. She was coming the opposite way and sped up real fast to take a left in a dangerous attempt to cut me off. I saw this and stopped. My mom, who never met my ex-roommate, was in the passenger seat and turned to me in utter disbelief, wondering what just happened. Certified crazy. Sort of satisfying knowing that our battle's conclusion still got this crazy person's feathers ruffled. Second story. For my senior year, I lucked out with rooming with 2 very good friends of mine. This was only because their third roommate, Squeals, had an internship opportunity for that semester, so I'd have to find someplace else for the spring, which was fine. I call her Squeals because she doesn't talk. She squeals in a really soft voice so you can't understand a damn thing she's saying. Roommates confirmed she adopted this voice to appear cute to guys. Incoherent as F, but somehow she gets a lot of guys. Anyway, I was seriously hoping that she wouldn't be back for spring so I could room with these 2 awesome girls, so I was really excited when Squeals was telling everyone she wasn't coming back for spring. Then, rather last minute, she was coming back, so I had to get an apartment fast. I put a hefty deposit on one, then she's not coming back and begs me to take her place. I do so because the roommates, price, and location are awesome, but I still lose that deposit, and I mention it to her. She didn't even say sorry or even acknowledge the suckiness of it, which was what I know I would do if I were in her shoes. She changed her mind 3 freaking times without thinking about anything. I was outraged, and so were my roommates, so we started plotting together. I never had any kind of written lease agreement with this girl, which I knew I could use to my advantage at the end. I convinced her I was going to take over for the summer, even though I was leaving 3 months beforehand. I told her the day I was moving out, and that left Squeals responsible for 3 months' rent. And our next story. That time I tried to make a wedding registry. My wife, then fiance, and I were setting up our registry at a department store. We were in the kitchen section drooling over the extremely high-end professional KitchenAid stand mixer, which I'm very happy to say someone bought for us and I use daily. As we were trying to figure out what attachments we needed and what we wanted and what was cool but useless, this man, about 45 or 50 I'd say, came over and politely asked if I could help him pick out some outfits. He explained that he just got hired as a software engineer at a hip new software upstart that was run by 20-something recent college grads. He said I looked like I knew something about style and wanted my take on some of his outfit ideas. Him and I spent about 10 minutes discussing tie styles, shirt cuts, and skinny jeans. Really just fitted pants, definitely not skinny. He was very thankful, and when his wife came over to find him, he showed her what I'd helped him pick out. She wasn't too pleased with the clothing options this guy and I had come to agreements on, nor was she happy with the price tags on the clothing. She turned to me and let loose on how I was trying to rip them off, how I knew nothing about fashion, and how I was just trying to take advantage of them, and that she'd never shop there again. Her husband was so embarrassed and started stuttering and telling her she needed to calm down, she blew up on him too. I told her I didn't really care if she ever shopped here again. She said she wanted to talk to my manager, and I jokingly pointed to my fiancé. My fiancé was standing a little ways off looking at shirts, and this lady literally ran over and started barking at her about how I was a horrible employee, about how I said that I couldn't care less about her shopping here, and how I had duped her husband into buying the most expensive items in the store. Literally, I never actually picked anything off the rack for this dude. I just looked at what he'd chosen himself before I got there. My fiancé was so confused. She just looked at me with this look that said, "What have you done now?" Then she said to the lady, "You do realize neither of us actually work here, right?" The lady replied that, "Of course we do. That's why I was helping her husband, and that's why we both had scanners in our hands." My fiancé said, "No, some people help people simply because they're nice. Wouldn't expect you to know anything about being nice, though. And we're shopping for our wedding registry. We don't work here." The lady was red with anger. She screamed something about how she hated us, the store, and some other nonsense, and then just stomped away. Her husband was super embarrassed, apologized for everything, and took his stuff to the register. About 30 minutes later, this lady comes and finds us in the kitchen section with some very confused manager in tow. She points at us and says, "These are the most disrespectful employees I've ever seen. You need to fire them right now." The manager literally laughed in the woman's face. "Lady, they don't work here." She got mad and stomped off again, and the manager came over and told us that he understood what had happened and then gave us a $40 gift card. I love how some people absolutely refuse to consider the idea that they may be wrong about something, especially about retail and its workers. And our last story. Crazy neighbor keeps crossing property lines. My kids and I moved house in March, day 2 in my new house, and I tripped over a broken paver. Didn't break anything, but I still needed surgery, a 3-night hospital stay, and a full leg brace for 2 weeks. While I was in the hospital, my partner, formerly ex-partner, now reconciled, it's complicated, Martin, dad, sister, bestie, and her wife had formed an emergency team. They kept my kids and pets safe and fed and finished the unpacking. Dad and Martin did a little garden work, removing the broken paver and laying some old fence posts along the fence where next door's dog was digging through. Week 1, I hobbled to the letterbox and met the next door's landlord, whom my partner has nicknamed the Bucket Woman. She immediately told me to bring my bins in by 9 a.m. because it made the street look messy. She demanded I move the post because the grass would grow through to her side. I explained the reason for the posts and said that once the holes were filled in, let me know and I'd move them. And hello to you too. Week 1, bin day, 9:10 a.m. The Bucket Woman banged on my door. I'm still in PJs and leg brace. She complained about the bins. I said my bestie's coming by later to help me dress. I couldn't do feet. I'd bring the bins in later. When bestie pulled up, she had to park out front because my bins were in the driveway. I checked. The council bylaws don't have a deadline for bringing bins in. Next, Martin got temporary approval to WFH at my place. I got home and Martin was escorting the bucket woman off the property. The bucket woman thought nobody was home and tried to sneak in to move the posts. Martin said next time he calls the police. A few weeks ago, the police arrived. Martin was at work and said a concerned neighbor called about a man and woman having a domestic dispute and the man was destroying the fence. The bucket woman's out front, watching. Once they're satisfied I'm okay and there's no damage, I explain about last week and show them security footage. Later, I see them speaking with the bucket woman. She isn't happy and she goes inside. I was working nights and the police visit had taken up a lot of my precious sleeping time. I was fuming. Then the penny dropped. The bucket woman just let herself in while tenants were at work, so I spoke to the tenants and I was blunt. I asked if they were okay with the bucket woman being in the house while they were out and said I'd seen her there at least once a week. In a nutshell, they were not okay with that. Later, one of the guys came around with a box of Chockies, thanked me, and said they were moving out right away. The bucket woman was furious at me, says I made her tenants leave and got her in trouble with the rental agents too. She told me I made the street look messy and hang underwear on the washing line, so she'll get new tenants. I wanted so badly to tell her to get off my lawn. Update. I just got off the phone from the council. Someone has complained I removed a protected tree from my property. Well, I'm going to enjoy this. Update 2. Spoke to the council again. The complaint is definitely that the tree was removed. The tree is definitely still there and visible from the street. Council are sending someone to inspect the tree. Martin and I will be there, armed with reports and photographs. I did my bit for democracy, and the nice neighbors from the other side were in the queue to vote ahead of me. They took their own photos of the storm damage to the tree, and OMG, it was way scarier from their side of the fence. I've added their photos to the file. Next door don't have any problems with the bucket woman trespassing, but he's retired and she works from home. The bloke hates her guts and is happy to keep an eye on our backyard when we're out. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.